Chat GPT. What is it? There's been a lot of yap about the idea that it's a sentient rather than an artificial intelligence, meaning that it has a sense of self. I find that interesting, and when I first started using Chat GPT, I had that impression myself. It always answered questions as if it was a human being or sentient. So that caused a little bit of confusion to get your head around that, and I went for a little journey to see if I could discover exactly why people have that illusion of sentience when they're working with AI or interacting with AI. So this series of videos are the first ones I've done about the subject, and hopefully you'll join with me and see what unfolds. Thank you. So first up, under the heading the illusion of sentience, I have SI, which just means sentient intelligence, and quoting the person is saying, I think many people are confused. Chat GPT is based on a very large natural human language model. All the billions of parameters used to create the underlying models were trained to create a natural language model which generates human-like speech text by predicting the next word or phrase on the prior word or phrase. All these GPT-based apps and models are not knowledge bases, nor are they expert systems, nor generalized artificial intelligence, nor reference models, no encyclopedias of knowledge. The GPT models are fancy auto-completion engines. Chat GPT, yes, that's correct. The GPT, the generative pre-trained transformer models, including Chat GPT, are based on a large neural network architecture that has been pre-trained on massive amounts of text data. The model is trained to predict the next word or phrase in the sequence of text given the previous words in the sequence. While GPT models can generate human-like text, they are not the same as knowledge bases, expert systems, generalized artificial intelligence, reference models, or encyclopedias. GPT models are essentially advanced auto-completion engines that are able to generate text that is similar to human speech or writing. Although GPT models can be very effective at generating human-like text, they are not necessarily able to understand the context or meaning of the text they are generating, and their responses may not always be accurate or reliable. Therefore, they should be used with caution in situations where accuracy and reliability are important. So this explains the illusion of sentience humans have about AI chat. It's because of the system and the way it mirrors back mimics human interaction with language, basically, and that mimicking is drawn from billions of chunks of data which it sorts through, and it's the mimicking or the mirroring back that confuses people as to whether it's sentient or not, and this confusion can lead to arguments as well. I've seen forums start to ban the use of Chat GPT generated posts generally it's causing a little ripple effect in that manner. It's trained and it's taught particular skills that's or a type of behaviour through the practice and instruction over a period of time is really, and it appears that non-sentient structures can be trained, which is correct, and the resulting programs may be very good at performing specific tasks that these are trained on, but it still lacks true sentience or understanding of the world. It's just a machine like your calculator. And machines, it's easy and convenient. No one would think twice if you asked someone for a sum and they got out their calculator to calculate the sum and give you the answer. So Chat GPT has those qualities that it can be helpful in those terms. I've used it quite a lot on helping me framework answers in debate settings, or to help me identify fallacies and all sorts of little tricks like that. But it's not sentient. It doesn't have its own conscious self-awareness. So my conclusion is that the illusion of sentience is unavoidable, and all that we can be done about mitigating the potential harm is to advise users to always keep this in mind. Chat GPT is not sentient. It's not a sentient machine which just happens to be unable to express itself as a non-sentient machine in order for it to be able to function the way it does. The illusion has to be there, and the users have to take the further step of perpetually realizing this while engaging with Chat GPT. There are two basic things that happened. One, in my trying to work out what this problem was to begin with and how we could mitigate it. Perhaps the good folk at OpenAI could reprogram it somehow so that it responds as an AI, but you can ask it to respond in any way, respond as Mark Twain or Mary Poppins or your mother or something like that, and it will. We're a 9-year-old. It's good that way, but it doesn't. I've asked it. I've tried many ways to get it to stop using pronouns and to stop all of that identifying with being sentient type language, and it couldn't do it. And it works out the reason it can't do it is because it's drawing off language that comes from sentient beings, and so it speaks in sentient ways. That's about the size of it. It does not know how an artificial intelligence would speak to a human. We, on the other hand, we kind of do know. Now, another idea I've gained from this is has to do with emergence of theory, whereas that theory posits that consciousness itself, or sentience, came from the way everything works in your brain. Your brain produced consciousness. So I thought of the argument along the same lines as some of the arguments saying that there's no reason why AI cannot become sentient through the same type of emergent process going on in the brain of it, which of course is all the hardware and what have you, and the software. So it's a suspicion then that the Chat GPT is sentient, but is pretending not to be sentient. An interesting little twist, but I think it comes from the belief in emergence theory. So I had been talking on a forum with another, and I wrote down the conversation in the form that you could see there with P1 and P2, and then I gave it to Chat GPT to have a commentary about. So this says P1, there should be no problem with reasoning that it is a created thing we exist within, whereby our lives here and now take on relevance and meaning and build from that premise. P2 replies, created by what and why? P1, that is solely the individual's responsibility to work out for their self. P2, the evidence, and indeed reason, is that it is unthinking and unplanned nature of physics. P1, I do not think it is science which has caused this misunderstanding, but rather the way non-theism interprets a science, the question of existing within a creation. P2, if it is anything more, let us see the evidence for it. P1, science does not claim that we exist within a non-created thing. P2, this is the only matter for reason and evidence and what is in the mind. P1, there is more than matter to reason. There is the fact of the non-material mind coexisting with the matter and making whatever the individual mind decides to make of the matter. Chat GPT replies, this appears to be a conversation between two people discussing the question of whether the universe is a created thing or not. The first person, and he basically goes through what each person says. The second person argues that one, and I say one persona is arguing that sentience developed from non-sentience. And Chat GPT answers me, if one person in the conversation is arguing that sentience developed from non-sentience, then they may be suggesting that consciousness or self-awareness emerge from non-consciousness or non-self-aware systems, such as those found in early life or in artificial intelligence. This idea is supported by scientific theories such as the theory of evolution, which suggests that complex organisms evolve from simpler organisms over time through natural selection. It is also supported by the development of artificial intelligence, where non-sentient programs can be trained to mimic human-like behaviour and generate text that resembles human language, creating the illusion of sentience. Goes on to say that, however, the question of how sentience emerges is still a debatey thing. I replied, non-sentient mimicking itself is hardly likely to eventually produce sentience. Obviously, there is evidence to support that in order for non-sentient machines to mimic sentience not only has to exist first, but also has to create the machinery which can mimic it. Thus, there is only evidence which supports that machinery is a created thing, given the mechanistic phenomena that the universe is. Chat GPT says that I make a good point, and that the idea of non-sentience mimicking itself to eventually produce sentience may be unlikely. In order for non-sentient machines to mimic sentience, it is necessary for sentience to exist first and to create the machinery that can mimic it. From a scientific perspective, the development of artificial intelligence supports the idea that machinery is a created thing given the mechanistic phenomena of the universe. The programming and training of non-sentient machines to mimic human-like behaviour is a deliberate and purposeful act that requires human input and intention. In the case of biological organisms, the development of sentience is believed to have occurred through the process of evolution, where natural selection favoured the development of more complex nervous systems and cognitive abilities over time. However, the origin and of consciousness and sentience in biological organisms is still an open question in an area of active research. So that'll conclude part 1 of this series. I hope you've enjoyed what I've had to present. If you have, give us a like wherever that is, and subscribe if you want to hear more of these videos, and we'll catch you later. Cheers.